Hello, dear friends. The oldest truths became myths so that no one would dare to seek them out. Opinion piece. Apocalypse cancelled. Staging. End of illusion. Biased narratives. Mental conformity. Cognitive dissonance. Expect the unexpected. Contradictory statements. The pieces begin to fall into place. Let's start. I regret to disappoint the doomsayers. The Third World Party has been cancelled. It is the end of the illusion, because the apocalypse of the Great World Chessboard has been annulled or revoked. According to Michael Cannon, everything was decided long ago. The key pieces of the global geopolitical game were put in place long before current events became public, according to Paul White Gold Eagle. The tensions, bellicose rhetoric, and conflicts that dominate our screens don't reflect the underlying reality of the balance of power. Everything we see in traditional media and disseminated in social networks constitutes a carefully orchestrated performance designed to appear credible and realistic for the success of the divine plan. Almost no one is on the ground to independently verify the information disseminated by traditional media. Those who are present typically perceive only what the coalition chooses to show them, through controlled images and actions, limited access, and biased narratives. Precisely for this reason, we are witnessing enormous cognitive dissonance among the population today. Contradictory statements, conflicting information, and narratives that change daily plunge many people into profound confusion. It is no longer known who to trust or which version of events to believe. However, the cards are deliberately shuffled and appearances are maintained to avoid the shock too brutal and sudden for the world's population. A premature revelation could trigger uncontrollable chaos. Many people fall into the trap of mental conformity. The image we form of individuals, leaders, or events is not always accurate. We must exercise constant discernment and learn to look beyond appearances, beyond headlines, statements, and the images that are disseminated. The illusion gradually fades, and the pieces of the puzzle begin to fit together coherently. Ordinary citizens have often paid the price for the strategies employed by those who pull the strings behind the scenes, without necessarily understanding the deeper consequences. Anchoring or drifting. You either anchor yourself in awareness or let yourself be carried away by the narrative, says Kesharaj. One path is based on presence, where you observe, choose, and respond with clarity and compassion, raising your frequency and aligning yourself with deeper aspects of yourself. The other is carried away by stories, distractions, and conditioned thoughts, where attention is scattered and easily influenced. Over time, this choice shapes your inner state and your experience of reality, either elevating you to higher states of consciousness or keeping you trapped in the outdated and familiar patterns of the matrix. Reset News. Axios 4-bit summary. The old financial system collapsed. The new one is here. The gold standard is back. They can't stop what's already been built. Watch the gold markets. Watch for the panic at the Federal Reserve. They'll tell you the talks failed. They'll call it a setback. That was the plan. no one can say the door wasn't open. The dollar just reached 46% of global reserves, its lowest level in 26 years. Central banks aren't hedging, they're evacuating. Gold is at $4,771. Third consecutive week of gains, record after record. The old financial structure is collapsing in real time, and the only ones who don't see it are those still watching cable news. The BRICS countries accumulated more gold in 9 months than the Federal Reserve printed on 9 years. That's not a market trend, it's a replacement measure. The war opened the floodgates. The files revealed the names, and the dollar is bleeding out in the offices of every central bank, from Beijing to Brasilia. Every move is connected. Every failure is premeditated. Every headline is distracting for the transformation happening in the background. The deal was never the point. The reset was. We enter the final phase this week. Expect the unexpected. See you on the other side. Operations. According to Mr. Poole, the coalition is conducting operations on several continents. Special units are raiding underground tunnel networks, seizing biological weapons labs, and dismantling human trafficking networks. High-level sources confirms raids on all tunnel systems in the Middle East, reused by members of the cabal. Allied forces are freeing thousands of victims while capturing exotic technology. Deep earthquakes are evidence of subterranean battles against the dark side's strongholds. Positive forces from the Earth's interior are helping to clear portals and advanced weapons directed against the population. Each raid confiscates assets from secret projects, promising lower cost and surge of innovation. During March and April 2026, the coalition intensified the mining efforts in tunnels linked to illicit trafficking in more than 100 countries. Free energy technology is being revived as laboratories come under ethical oversight, paving the way for public application to end scarcity. Free energy prototypes are being successfully tested and promise to create well-paying jobs and break monopolies. The Space Force protects from orbit, while benevolent ships counter threats. Bases on Antarctica, the Moon and Mars are being liberated from the dark fleet. Illicit trafficking routes and biological weapons sites face ultimate destruction. Citizens reclaim resources and security. Dark side countermeasures fall as earthquakes signal continued victories. Free energy, prosperity, and the Great Awakening bring total victory. Tunnels. According to Julian Assange, the dark side's underground empire will come to an end when the Great Awakening brings justice in 2026. Mount Rushmore is compromised. Beneath the sculptures of Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, and Roosevelt, an extensive network of tunnels stretches from hundreds of miles, reaching all the way to Washington, D.C. It is a private underground highway, built with taxpayer money to provide escape routes, command centers, and supply lines. The tunnels begin behind the record room, hewn from the granite. The sealed vault is state set. The classified construction created vertical shafts that branch through reinforced passages for the highest speed movement of personnel and equipment. The battle has moved underground. but the heroes act swiftly. The tunnels will be exposed, the connections severed, and the dark sides underground empire destroyed when the Great Awakening brings justice in 2026. Stargates. Much of the conflict involved recapturing the 10th Stargate beneath Iran, according to Ismael Perez. The last two portals beneath Lebanon and North Africa were recaptured in the last few hours. The path of ascension has been activated. Part of the conflict is not exclusively geopolitical, but is linked to the recapture of a Stargate. This portal is one of several important energy points on the planet, related to consciousness and timelines. This portal was reportedly controlled for thousands of years by negative forces and was recently recaptured by entities described as positive or guardians. Other portals located in regions such as Lebanon and North Africa have reportedly been recovered very recently, presented as part of a coordinated global operation. Following these recoveries, a process called the Path of Ascension has been activated, understood as a shift in human consciousness and the structure of reality. This process is described as part of a larger transformation involving the liberation of humanity and the collapse of control systems. These events are part of a multidimensional conflict in which visible events are manifestations of deeper dynamics related to advanced technology, consciousness, and invisible structures. The result of all this would be the activation of an ascension process. Connections. Dr. Michael Salla believes that the conflicts in the Middle East have a different background than conventional geopolitics, centered on the existence of ancient technologies, portals, and hidden structures in that territory. These elements would be the true focus of interest for various powers. The main objective would not be control of resources, but access to capacity. It is advanced technologies associated with disabilities, such as interdimensional travel and contact with entities from other worlds. This interpretation redefines the conflict as a dispute over unconventional knowledge. Tim Batchett stated that the government acknowledges the existence of extraterrestrial visits and a certain level of interaction with human beings. This statement is presented as a shift in the institutional discourse on the UFO phenomenon. Eric Barrelson's comments are also cited regarding legal protections for whistleblowers who disclose UFO-related information to Congress, even if they are subject to confidentiality agreements to encourage them to share information with more people involved in classified programs. On the other hand, Michael Salla includes criticisms of public space programs like Artemis II, which he describes as a communication tool that would conceal the existence of secret space programs with more advanced technologies. These programs would allow for routine travel beyond the moon. Economy. Markets reduced geopolitical risk. Wall Street recovers all losses since the start of the war. Middle East. Tensions rise in the Strait of Hormuz as the blockade takes effect. China affirms it will protect Iran from Israel and the US. Blocking the Strait of Hormuz would mean less oil and gas on the world market. Saudi Arabia restores its east-west pipeline, bypassing the Strait of Hormuz and pumping 7 million barrels per day. Europe. Hungary's opposition defeats Orbán and secures majority in parliament. Elon Musk declares that Soros organization has taken over Hungary, in quotes. According to the Center for Fundamental Rights, at least 153 organizations in Hungary have benefited from Soros' financial support. Spain. Sanchez moves closer to China while escalating tensions with Trump. Spain launches a new military vessel to protect submarine cables from sabotage. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.